One of the main challenges that the G7 countries face in the global arena is the rising influence of China, especially in the field of infrastructure development. China's Belt and Road Initiative (BRI) is a massive project that aims to connect Asia, Europe, Africa and beyond through a network of roads, railways, ports, pipelines and other infrastructure projects. The BRI has been criticized by many Western countries for its lack of transparency, environmental and social standards, debt sustainability, and geopolitical implications. To counter China's BRI, the G7 countries have agreed to launch a new global infrastructure initiative called Build Back Better World, B3W. This initiative was announced by President Biden and his G7 partners at the 2021 G7 summit in Cornwall, England. The B3W is a values-driven, high-standard and transparent infrastructure partnership led by major democracies to help narrow the $40+ trillion infrastructure gap in the developing world, which has been worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic. The B3W will focus on 4 areas of investment: climate, health and health security, digital technology, and gender equity and equality. The B3W will be global in scope, covering low and middle-income countries across Latin America and the Caribbean, Africa and the Indo-Pacific. The B3W will also seek to mobilize private sector capital and work with other like-minded partners, multilateral development banks, development finance institutions and more. The United States is a lead partner in the B3W and aims to mobilize $200 billion over the next 5 years through grants, federal financing and leveraging private sector investments. Together with G7 partners, the U.S. aims to mobilize $600 billion by 2027 in global infrastructure investments. The Biden administration hopes that the B3W will complement its domestic infrastructure plan, create new opportunities for American workers and businesses, and advance its national security interests. The B3W is a bold and ambitious initiative that reflects the shared values and vision of the G7 countries for global infrastructure development. It is also a strategic response to China's BRI that aims to offer a better alternative for low and middle-income countries that need quality, sustainable, and inclusive infrastructure. The success of the B3W will depend on its effective implementation, coordination, and cooperation among the G7 partners and other stakeholders. The G7 countries have pledged to cooperate on trade, technology, and security issues to counter China's economic and geopolitical influence. Here are some of the ways they are doing so. The G7 trade ministers have agreed to impose export controls for cutting-edge technologies that could be used by China for military or surveillance purposes. They have also committed to uphold high standards for labor rights, environmental protection, and human rights in their trade policies. The G7 leaders have adopted a unified approach to confront China's unfair economic practices, such as industrial subsidies, forced technology transfers, and market access barriers. They have also vowed to work together to develop a coordinated response to China's non-market policies and practices that undermine the level playing field for businesses and workers. The G7 countries have pledged to share insights and best practices to identify and minimize vulnerabilities and bottlenecks in their supply chains, especially for critical minerals and products that are essential for economic security and stability. They have also committed to intensify the development of responsible, sustainable, and transparent critical minerals supply chains that take into account processing, refining, and recycling. The G7 countries have agreed to intensify and elevate their cyber cooperation, working with their close partners to achieve accountability and increase stability and security in cyberspace. They have also committed to new cooperation to deploy quantum-resistant cryptography that ensures secure interoperability between ICT systems and fosters growth in the digital economy. The G7 countries have included a commitment to standards and technology, trade, and innovation that represent their values as they compete with China. Through forums such as the EU Trade and Technology Council, they have demonstrated how democratic and market-oriented approaches to trade, technology, and innovation can improve the lives of their citizens and be a force for greater prosperity. The G7 countries have underscored their commitment to successfully implementing the G20 Common Framework for Debt Treatments beyond the Debt Service Suspension Initiative. They have urged all relevant creditors, including non-Paris Club countries such as China and private creditors, to contribute constructively to the necessary debt treatments as requested. These are some of the ways that the G7 countries have pledged to cooperate on trade, technology, and security issues to counter China's economic and geopolitical influence. By working together, they hope to protect their interests and values in the face of China's growing assertiveness and challenge.